welcome back to That Dad Guy. It's July 13th, 2023, and I am going for a walk. I am downtown Moncton. I'm going to walk along the riverfront, and today I've got a guest, so someone I got to walk with me. Let me introduce you. All right, so I've got Greg Turner with me today. Greg is a longtime Moncton resident. He's a current MLA, which is a member of Legislative Assembly for the town of Moncton, city of Moncton. You've represented City Council, and
correct.
and you've been a business owner in town for a long time.
I was,
yeah. So I thought what we'd do is we'd walk along the beautiful riverfront that we have here today and talk a little bit about Moncton and where we're growing, where we've been in the past, and what you see for the future in your position that you currently are in. Does that sound okay?
It sounds wonderful. As we hear the birds chirping in the background, not a breath of air to be had. The river's, it's like a mirror out there.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah, we always think of the river as being brown. If you look at it there today, it's not brown at all. It's still.
So for those of you from away, the Petitcodiac River's there. Sometimes we call it the Chocolate River because there is a brown silt to it. So when the tide's low, you can see the brown, but when the tide is in, it's just a full river, as you can see behind us. So it's quite something natural for us here.
We should mention it's quite a muddy river. Muddy, I mean, in size.
Yeah.
But when I moved down here, like I've been down and lived in the river for 22 years. The causeway was still a thing in those days.
Yep.
And the river had really narrowed down. And from where we're standing, this bank actually was out about 300 meters. So the river itself, you could almost throw a rock across it. It was so narrow at that point. And with the reopening of the causeway and the building of the bridge, there's been tremendous rejuvenation of the river, and it's wonderful to see. And of course, the tidal bore has become back to its mighty self, I guess. Certain times of the month, certain times of the year.
So you certainly have seen the growth of the river as it's kind of taking itself back again since the causeway's gone.
When you were walking here back like 20 years ago, and before that, during the causeway period, you couldn't actually see the river when it was at low tide because it was so far out the bank and it was reset, you couldn't even see the water. So this is amazing, like how it's transformed really in just 20 years. And the bank on the other side, you can pick it up or not, it is still eroding on the far side. This side has been reinforced with rock and that to protect the riverfront on the city side. But on the south side, you can still see quite a bit of erosion happening there just from the in and out of the tidal bore.
Yeah. So for those of you that are from away, and most of my viewers are from away, in the 1960s we put in a causeway at one end that connected the city of Moncton to the town of Riverview. We put in lots of rock in order to create this kind of blockade and create a man-made lake on one side. Well, in recent years we've ripped that out, we've gone back to a bridge, and the river is starting to come back to what it was once before. I don't know if it'll ever get back to the days when we had mighty ships coming up here for shipbuilding, but it is coming back.
Well, what it did before with the causeway, the tidal bore when it came in stopped. So then the silt just built up because it came to a dead end. So now the tidal bore, I don't know how far it goes. It could go all the way up to Salisbury, Petitcodiac eventually. It could, but I mean, at least it goes up and flows up towards Salisbury and allows that silt to keep on going, and it flushes itself out. Yep. But with the dam in there, we'll call it the dam, which was the causeway. It really curtailed that activity, and so the river was suffocating, almost choking. Yeah. So now, and maybe a view as we go on, the same wide it's really, originally this was called the bend.
Yes, yeah.
And this is the bend in the river, but we're kind of losing that bend. Now it's come back. Anyway, it's all good. I mean, it's people thought they did the right thing of the day, and people more recently have governments have chosen to put it back the way it was.
Yep.
And it's worked.
No, it's been a big push to have it go back, and they've even been seeing fish that have been coming back that haven't been in this river, and species. We have people that go along on both sides of the bank now and check the bird life, wildlife that's around, and to see what's rejuvenated as a result of this opening of the river.
Yeah, no, it's all natural, and we're going back the way it should be.
So we're seeing it from this perspective, but if we were just to turn the camera this way, you can see we're right in downtown Moncton. So even though it's nice and quiet everywhere around us, I guess some people are at work, but you can't even really hear the car noise right now.
No, and you think about it, there is a lot of traffic as far as vehicle traffic, because this is sort of the conduit between, we'll say Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and like people like going from Friendly National Park in Albert County. Either way, they go right by here. Yep. It doesn't matter. We get a lot of buses and a lot of recreational vehicles. It doesn't matter. It's there's still a good buffer here where the walking path is. We're well isolated from the traffic. Mm-hmm. And really, it's turning into a real hub of activity. I think as people recognizing the importance of the riverfront.
And we're seeing a major change in downtown Moncton too as a result of some of the new developments that are happening. I say around there, we're going to be coming up to one of the major developments that's happening right now, and I'll give you a picture of that. But this walkway has a whole lot of significance with the 3 Mounties that we've lost. We've had a tribute put to them.
That's
but
right.
we're coming up on shortly.
That's right. We'll have the 3 Mountie Memorial that we're coming up to.
And I'll show you a picture of that after as well.
Princess was just here a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Princess Anne was in town.
Helicopter landed just so she could go over and have pay her respects and actually meet with the families and spend some time at the memorial. So it's wonderful. We've got that opportunity right from Boar Park all the way down to do different tributes and things as it evolves. As things evolve.
Because of the size of this walking trail that we have now, we're able to host large events with tens of thousands of people at least. The Canada Day fireworks, most of the people lined the banks on this side to see them. Ribfest, yes, we're coming up on that location too. Ribfest, Inspire, there's a whole bunch of different events. Almost every weekend now we have something going on in Moncton.
We do, and that's really by design. Obviously, the city of Moncton coordinates and assists and backs and supports a lot of these events, and they juggle the calendar to make sure there's not overlapping or competing activities for the most part. But this weekend's a great example. We're going to be talking about a few minutes, a new festival coming here for the first time ever. But at the same time, further down the walkway, there's a major tournament going on at the sports fields down towards the bridge. So you're going to have 2 giant events going on at the same time on the riverfront, and to the point they're going to have fireworks 2 nights in a row to kind of support those events. So it's just a great opportunity for people to come down and be a part of it all.
And the Busker Festival, how long has that been in the works in order to get that to come to the city?
Well, I haven't been directly involved, been more indirectly, but I got to tell you, I think it's been a recent development in the last 6 months.
Okay.
But for me and a number of people, it's been a lifetime of dream, I guess, come true, and lobbying and suggesting and working. And it's like anything else, it's finding the right people, Robert. The right people to make it happen, put it together, and believe in what it will do for our community and especially our downtown core.
Well, when I think of buskers, I always think of.
Good morning.
I think of the Halifax Buskers.
Here's our hardworking crew here, just for a second.
Yeah, we'll spin them around here. Everybody's getting ready for the Buskers here.
This is Ron. Now, he's the backbone of downtown Moncton. Ron is. He puts things together no matter what's going on, what time of year. Ron is an important part of our community. He believes in our community. How long have you worked with downtown Moncton, Ron?
Long time.
I've heard it here for a long time.
Over 30 years.
I was going to say 20, but I've been downtown all these years and have known Ron, and he, no matter what's going on, he's part of that activity. And
So you're setting up for all the different events that take place downtown?
Yeah. Today we're setting up Busters,
right?
Which starts tomorrow.
Okay.
And on then. There's a
How
big boss coming down the street right there.
We got another boss.
This is
There's
Patrick.
bosses everywhere.
That's the kahuna.
So
Thank you so much.
Okay, have a great day.
Ron doesn't work for the city. He actually works for the downtown Moncton Centreville and DMCI,
Okay.
who really spearheaded a lot of these events. And like you said, we're going to bump into the manager, or the director actually of DMCI, or the president right here, Mr. Patrick Richard, in person.
He hears his name. He can see the smile coming up.
He slowed right down, didn't he?
Yeah, he's like, what do I want to do? What am I getting into?
Our
This is Patrick.
Our timing is perfect to it, Patrick. Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you?
We're talking about the city and how it's been changing, and some of the festivals that are taking place, like the Busker Festival that's coming up here now.
Yeah.
And so we're just taking it all in on this quiet day downtown with the sun beating down.
Just getting set for Busker Festival. Yeah, things are starting to. We can visualize it, right? So it's
Under
pretty
good
exciting.
weather. Beautiful.
We're hoping,
weather.
Fingers crossed for the rest of the weekend for sure.
And you're gonna have 2 stages.
Great. So 2 main Busker stages. So right here, so Buskers will be going on the 45. So there's going to be a show kind of going back and forth. We'll have music here on the bandstand, I guess, on Riverfront.
Yep.
And then there's also going to be a stage at City Hall with local Busker performances, and Oak Lane on Friday only. So that'll be in total 5 stages, 4 all weekend, and 12 to 5 here for the music, and 12 to 9 for the Buskers.
And there's gonna be food trucks and things.
Food trucks, half a dozen food trucks. We have also some non-food vendors. Some Parks Canada will be here, the Hospice Boutique, a few different arts and crafts as well, and yeah, no, it's gonna be a time for sure.
All right.
We bumped into Ron and the crew, started to set up over here.
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
got going this morning.
Get the signage going. So
Exactly.
it's wonderful. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Certainly lots going on right now. Prepare for the weekend.
Our timing is good. This is a new feature right here. Yeah, it's a speed sign, obviously on a walking trail, but obviously we'll share the walking trail with cyclists and now with motorized scooters and motorized waveboards and skateboards motorized. So anyway, there's the
flip it around here.
that's kind of
We're not activating it yet, but there's the speed sign. I have seen kids come and try to beat their speeds every time though, so I don't know if it is slowing people down or trying to get the record.
But it's kind of an interesting new feature. For the people who enjoy the walking, of course, want to make sure they're safe. You don't always hear these electric vehicles or motorized vehicles or even cyclists. You don't hear them once they ring a bell. We hope they do, of course.
Yep.
But yeah,
We've heard a couple bells as we've been walking along here to get out of the way or push to the side, so it's been good. People know the rules.
So here's one of our performance areas. Over our shoulder, you can see the stage set up in the bleachers and lots of room for the people to congregate around that area. These grass and everything. There's parking as well. That's one of the great things with that too. We've got lots of parking. We saw it with Ribfest this year, and I know you were down there, but we did in excess of 20,000 people over the 4 days. So it's wonderful that people have that accessibility.
And that's one of the major campaign, I guess, platforms for the Rotary.
Moncton West River Rotary is one of their three major. Just happen to be a club that I'm a member of. So.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah,
I used to be a member of the Moncton Club, so yeah.
You know how that works, for sure. Yeah,
so it was important to get in and support them. Enjoy the ribs that are here, but knowing that all the donations that you're donating to the people that are volunteering is going to a worthy cause around the city.
And another plug in, all the beverages that you buy, the water, the soft drinks, alcoholic beverages, is all sold by the Rotary Club. So they make the money from those.
Profits from that.
So here's the other stage set up if we can take a.
Yeah.
You hear the bell going from the cyclists going by, but you can see the stage here. This one's a little different. It's on the grass, but so we've got some speakers set up or something. Anyway, we'll see.
I'll definitely be back again tomorrow, so you'll see that there'll be jugglers. There's magicians that are going to be here. There's acrobats that will be here this year.
The hockey guy, apparently he's known around the world, and we're known for hockey here, so it's going to be wonderful. He does everything to do with hockey. That's part of his routine.
Mm-hmm. So he does more than just juggle hockey sticks, because I've seen some pictures.
I think he's got pucks, and I think he's got helmets and probably gloves. He's got the whole kit and caboodle.
Wonderful.
But and they do a wonderful job of maintaining the riverfront here. They're constantly working on the pathway and the gardens and the flowers and so on. So it's in great shape.
We've seen a lot of changes within the parks of Moncton, whether it's a revitalization of Centennial Park.
Yeah.
We've just moved the Centennial Beach up to the northern part where it doesn't flood anymore.
Out of the flood zone. That's a big.
We've created some basketball courts. We've redone the area around the splash park. We've put in some trails down below. I mean, it's looking fantastic. Well, that's just one of the many parks that we've got going around the city. We've got splash pads have been put in all sorts of neighborhoods now.
Yeah, no, the city has a mandate that you shouldn't have to walk more than 5 or 6 minutes from the front door to be in a green space. It could be a playground, a tot lot, a pool, whatever it may be. But within 5 or 6 minutes, you should be able to get to a green space no matter where you live. So I mean, this is obviously a park here, but with all the parks that are scattered around the city and playgrounds, etc. One of the things too, Robert, is this here riverfront. We talk about the riverfront trail, riverfront pathway, or the parkway, whatever you want to call it. But the vision here, this is going to connect the entire city, and you can virtually go from the western end of this right up to Mananakill by following the pathway.
Yeah.
And on the other side, the pathway comes down. It's not quite connected yet at the around the university, we'll say, around that marsh area, but it will. But right now it connects from Main Street over by the Superstore. The new boardwalk there is really beautiful. Along by the traffic circle, there's a huge boardwalk that takes you to the east end pool and playground area.
Yes.
And then that'll eventually move itself, extend itself over across Botsford, under the railroad tracks. There's actually a walkway there to go under, and then by the university and connect by Connaught Avenue and get you up to Mapleton Park. So
you'll be able to traverse anywhere in the city pretty much by some sort of a pathway.
Not being on the roadway.
Yeah.
And again, if people want to come down here, they get on their bikes, come downtown. No motorized vehicles, they can do that.
Yeah.
They will be able to do that. Yeah.
It's nice too that when I grew up here, there was a time when all the kids, when they got to the end of high school, they wanted to move away because you needed to go away to get jobs. You needed to go away to get entertainment because there was no big concerts or anything, things that were holding kids here.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing world-class events showing up, whether it's international hockey, FIFA's been here. We've had international comedians that are now calling this as a destination spot when they're coming on their tours, and concerts as well.
You know what's really cool is a number of them are adding second nights.
Yes.
You know, not just one. If they sell out the first one, they'll stay for a second one. So it gives them a chance to explore downtown and be in the downtown. So you'll see stars on Main Street, which again, in years ago with the Coliseum, it was sort of drive in off the Trans-Canada, plug and unplug and keep on going down Trans-Canada. They didn't even come into the city. They didn't have to come into the city. You don't need to come into the city. So,
and lots of times if they were coming to Atlantic Canada, they were coming to Halifax. They weren't coming to Moncton.
That's it.
And now sometimes they're coming to Moncton and not even going to Halifax.
Well, you know, you bring up an interesting point. You know, promoters and producers and managers that are in Canada or around the world, North America, where the case may be, they look at a map and they see the mass of Halifax. There's no doubt. It's well over 400,000, I think, today, and it is a great community and all that. But the reality is, we check the stats. Moncton, because of our geographic location, we have a larger population to draw from within a 2-hour range. And it's proven that 2-hour range is about what people would drive for an event or activity. In fact, if you live in a major city, i.e. Toronto, Vancouver, New York, 2 hours get you from one side of town to the other, is what it does. Right. So anyway, no, Moncton, because of our 360-degree circle, we take in about 1.2 million people, actually. And Halifax is well under 1 million. They're in the 800 range. And the reason for that being 180 degrees of their circle is water. Yeah. And the only major community they take in is Truro. And we take Truro within our 2-hour circle too. We share Truro, but we have all PEI within 2 hours. And the majority of them are Brunswick, from the Manor Street to Fredericton to St. John, that whole range, and northern part of Cumberland County and central Nova Scotia, all within our 2-hour window of opportunity. So when promoters finally realize the drawing power Moncton has, you know, as kids growing up, we were known as the hub of the Maritimes. Yep. And we've kind of gotten away from that, but that's really our strength is geographically where we're located. And,
well, it used to always be said that, especially for Moncton, if you're from Moncton, you looked at the map, you looked at the Trans-Canada, and the Trans-Canada basically is the most important road that runs through Canada that connects one community to another. And Moncton has 6 exits. Halifax only has 1. So we must be more important if we've got 6 exits coming to our city and they've only got 1. So.
No, there's a good point. But I hadn't thought of that one, so that's a real good point. But
there you go.
You know, but no, Trans-Canada's been good to us, and a big part of our economic or business strength is our industrial parks, and they kind of fly under the radar because most of the public don't go out and visit the industrial parks, so they don't realize what's going on out there. But they're all they're located along those 6 exits that you're talking about, along they're strategically located. Yep. And of course, our international airport is really close to the Trans-Canada. And we say that it allows great access, again, from PEI to northern Nova Scotia and all points in southeastern New Brunswick, of course. So the whole idea of our industrial parks, and most national companies are finally realizing they're trying to find ways to operate more efficiently, especially during COVID and the rising gas prices. So they see having a centralized warehouse in Moncton is going to be in a distribution center. So we'll use Walmart, who just opened a few months ago, with about 100 jobs. But the beauty of it is they can bring everything in here by rail or by truck and then distribute to all their stores. Before a truck would have to leave Ontario, and maybe it's going to North Sydney store. It'd have to be loaded from North Sydney. It'd have to go all the way there and unload a whole load. Yeah. Now, every day they can just leave from Moncton, make that load up in Moncton. So it's a whole lot easier for them. And the truck will be back by night and load up again, Right. To get back to Ontario, another 24-hour trip for them. So, so they just see that here within 8 hours. Even Newfoundland, even though it's further, but it's still, it's still a lot closer than you would be if you were in Ontario. Absolutely. But the idea, like you're saying, when we were growing up, everybody thought, boy, I got to go west. But again, during COVID, people came to the realization, man, I got to go east.
Well, with the more people that could work from home, they saw the cheaper housing that was here.
The benefits.
All the benefits that are here. Growing up, raising families. I mean, I was the same way. My wife and I lived in Vancouver, and we started having children when we moved back here. It was just easier. We had family that was here. That makes a big difference, but things were a lot cheaper to live.
And our ability to attract immigrants now, too, our success at growing our population of the province and the city, both, really the diversification, I think, makes it even a more exciting place to live. You know, all the different nationalities, the different foods, the linguistic different demographics that are within our midst.
Yeah.
So the kids go to school, they start out in kindergarten and daycare, and they're with all these different nationalities, different voices, and they don't see the difference. We're just all from Canada. You know? And it's wonderful. And then those people are coming here and they want to establish themselves in our country and our community, and they're loving it here. So we're very fortunate. We're very blessed to see our population in the province grew by over 60,000 since COVID, and the city, obviously, as you know, are the fastest growing community in Canada, but percentage-wise. So that's something to be proud of. But it's people doing their homework, doing the research, and realizing the benefits of being in a community like Moncton.
I want to touch back on the immigration here in a minute, but we find ourselves standing at the statue of the 3 RCMP officers who tragically lost their lives a number of years back. This is a great spot for people just to come remember what the RCMP does for us. We'll talk a bit about the RCMP too, because they're having a new building built in our downtown as well. But I wanted to take a time just to show what's down here, and I'll put another image up after. We've got people that are over there paying their respects, so we'll wander on and let them do that in peace.
Yeah.
So if I can touch back on immigration just a little bit, one of the great things about, when I was younger, this was a French and English city, basically.
Period.
There may have been a smattering of color or other nationalities that were in town, but you kind of knew who they were. They were that small of families.
They owned a restaurant or something, and you knew them by name, and for sure they, you know.
But this past week we held a Filipino tournament here in town for the Maritimes that brought in 27 teams of Filipino men. I don't know if you were aware of this or not.
I don't think so. Quite, no.
So they took over a bunch of the different schools around town, and they had all Filipino food in it. And thinking back, I can't imagine a time where early on that we would have that many Filipino families that we could have a whole league competing here in town that had 27 teams that were complete.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal to hear that, and but not surprising either at the same time, because good news travels, especially with the internet today, and things that we're doing right now. People around the world have access to all this information,
and the hotel rooms that we now have, because we've had lots of hotels that have been built around the city over the last 10 years, especially as a result of the Avenir Center being here downtown.
We haven't even touched on the Avenir Center.
No, we will get to it. I don't know how long this interview is going to be. I know you've got a time frame, but there is so much going on in this city right now. This could be a 2-hour video.
do you know a fact here? We have more hotel rooms with all the new ones that have opened than Fredericton and St. John put together. We take those two cities and add together, even though we're all about roughly the same population, but again,
we're bigger.
But because of our our geographic location, and this is where people seem to want to stay overnight, or come to events and make it a whole weekend of activity.
Well, it also makes it nice and easy that you can stay here, but you can zip down to Fundy National Park for the day and then come back to your hotel. You can go over to Prince Edward Island if you really wanted to, and come back again. We are just in a perfect spot for all that.
Canadian coastline. Then let's look at the Fundy Trail Parkway. They're all within reach, within a day's drive. So, we're very, very fortunate. I got to tell you, it reminded me of something that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I had the privilege or honor to attend the Harrison Tremble High School graduation, which just happens to be the school I graduated from.
And my wife graduated from, and both my kids.
Good.
Well, one of them has one coming.
They had 230 graduates, which is a nice sized class.
Yep.
And in that 230 graduates, there were 30 countries represented and 22 languages in that one group. So imagine that, how diversified that is. And I was thinking back to like we talked a while ago, when I graduated from there, when I went to school there, that would be unheard of. So it's really wonderful. And it makes it I think much more appealing to families and young families to come here now and feel at home, feel at ease, and make their home here.
What I love too is when you're walking this trail, you're not just hearing English and French being spoken. We're now hearing Ukrainian, we're hearing Syrian, Filipino, Vietnamese. We have all sorts of dialects, and people feel comfortable communicating in their own languages. They have markets for their own food, so we have beautiful restaurants that have popped up all over the city now, being supported by markets that have fresh produce and fruit from their own countries.
Yesterday we had a job fair at the Avenir Center. I say we, the city of Moncton, and ONB, the department I represent, jointly promoted it. and organized it. So at the ONB booth, our booth, we had one of our workers was Cuban nationality, obviously spoke Spanish, and another lady was from Egypt. They're working for ONB, but helping us to get newcomers to, to speak to them in their language, make them feel comfortable. So yeah, it was great.
And the nice thing too is that we're not a melting pot. As some people, we're not expecting everybody to now speak English and walk around with a Tim Hortons coffee. We're taking them on and learning about their cultures and embracing their food, their ethnicity. We've got festivals that support that in the summer, which we'll have one coming up here soon. So it's great to see that in the city now, that we're being a little bit more multicultural, and that I think communities feel welcome when they come here.
Well, and why are the Buskers coming here this weekend? They've never been here before. They've heard about them. It's quite frankly, it's not a case of they come here. I should say they're not getting paid an enormous amount of money to come here from all over the world, but the tips that they generate from their performances that the public graciously, throw in the bucket for them. That's what they look forward to. So to come here, they want to be sure that the crowds are here, the people are here, that the city's diverse enough to be accepting. And I know there's one act from Sweden, different countries all over the world that are coming here. So they've done their research. They're not out to taking chances, especially in the summertime.
We're going to spin this around as you talk because you can hear in the background the construction. This is one of the things that is taking place along Assumption Boulevard is the Three Sisters project. So 3 buildings that are 15 stories each. You can see over here, that's Assumption Place. That's the tallest building in Moncton. It has been for almost 60 years.
Amazing, eh?
Amazing and sad at the same point. I know growing up, I always go back to growing up because I've been in the city a long time, and I always envisioned us having taller buildings. You go to Halifax and you can see the tall downtown, and here we sprawl out. We've got lots of area and the community is sprawled out. We're finally going up. So 3 towers that are 15 stories on here. And then down the other end, you can't see it from here, but we're proposed a 30-story building. It will be the tallest building in New Brunswick. Fifth in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, that's what we hear anyway, at the corner of Harper and Main Street. So if that comes to be, a realization that'll be a great entry point from the east end of the eastern entrance into Moncton, from the highway, from Dieppe, let's say, from the Newman area that come in. That's the first thing we'll be welcomed with, So, it's really, but that development was proposed when I was on city council, actually, but not at that magnitude. But it's had a couple of changes during COVID, and originally I think it was going to be a hotel, and now it looks like it'll be more residential, because that's just what the market is demanding right now, more residential and as quick as possible. So if you have one footprint and you build multiple levels, you can get those housing units much quicker. By doing it that way, again, rather than sprawling out and taking out more land mass and do underground parking or multi-level parking. So,
and you'll find you'll have some residents that don't require cars anymore because maybe they work in the downtown and they can walk to where they want to get to. And as we've shown already, everything is right here as far as the festivals and things that come to town.
Yeah, you know what the reality is? Like, a lot of these people that we're talking about, they're immigrating to our community, to our province, to our city, to our downtown, to our neighborhood. They come from much larger cities. They're coming from very large cities that they want to escape. They want to escape the rush, the hubbub, the noise, pollution, whatever. And they want to come to a quieter community where they can not drive a car, but use public transportation. They can drive their bicycles, or they can walk like we're doing today. So, so all those things are important. When they're looking at choosing a place to move, because it's a huge move. They're not just coming here on a whim and try it out. No, they're packing up, selling their business, their home, or whatever they may have in whatever country it may be. They may not even know English and French. It doesn't matter. They're taking a gamble on us because they believe in us. So, it's up to us to deliver the elements that they're looking for. One of the great things that just happened, a small little milestone that probably went by unnoticed. Our bus service operated on Canada Day. Never has. In fact, St. John Fragment, they don't. But because of the demand from the newcomers, a lot of them work now, 7 days a week. A lot of our people in the industrial parks and our businesses are open, production-wise or distribution-wise, in the food network. But these people depend on buses to get out there, public transportation. So anyway, so they saw the wisdom that ridership has now surpassed what it was pre-COVID. None of the 2019 figures have been met and passed, and the city said, you know what, we're going to do this. So I applaud the city. That's a great move. It may seem like a small move, but to people without a car that have to go to work, it's a huge thing.
Yeah. When we talked about youth in the city, we have a skate park right here, right in the downtown too. It's always, I mean, not right now, it isn't, but it almost always has bikes and skateboarders on it, or scooters.
It does.
It's pretty active.
It's
all tagged up,
used.
but it's welcome tagging. It's not stuff that we have to clean up. It's part of that culture, that community, and they're happy to do it, I think, isn't that the case that we allow them? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you want to be user friendly for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. You know, you should take a gander over your other shoulders. A couple people out in the marsh here just to show how far we are from the river here and how nice and green and fertile everything is. So
yep.
It's kind of interesting to see. Again, very peaceful, very quiet, and we're here. It's almost midday.
Yeah.
High noon, as I say. But it's good. But yeah, no, you know, the development that you've talked about is accurate and factual, but there's a whole lot more development that's being rumored, and you know, we're looking forward to more announcements, I think, and more shovels in the ground in the very near future.
I hope so. We've been talking about Main Street, but if we just take a gander and go up one, Moncton is kind of divided into 3 streets. We've got Main Street, which is our business area downtown. We've got Mountain Road, which has most of our franchise restaurants and things along it. It's quite long, has lots of development that way as well. But right through the middle is St. George Street, and for the longest time that had been a rundown street, and it is going through a massive revitalization. If you watch some of the videos, recently I was there to one of the chocolatiers that's just off St. George. Fantastic. I've got some other places I'm going to hit along the way too. But yeah, it's had a big change in St. George.
You know, you say it, I got elected in 2020, and I immediately went to St. George Street to open my office, and people said, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And there's a lot of issues in St. George Street. And I said, well, you know what? I'm a politician, and much like a fireman, when there's a fire, they run towards the fire to help and put it out and help the people that might need help. And
yep.
I said, to me, that's what my job is. I'm here to help people, and I want to be where the action is, sort of thing. Anyway, St. George has really evolved, and if people haven't taken a close look at it, you really have to, because I can tell you from King Street down to Vaughan Harvey Boulevard, you might have 2 vacancies in commercial business, maybe 3 today, but a recent one. But you know, when you look at all the commercial activity that's there, every one of them has been rejuvenated or reopened up or expanded, or there's a lot going on. So it's wonderful, really, to see that, because that is the heart of the city. I can tell you, without a doubt. You know, the entrepreneurs we have in our community are wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, when you see St. George Street, these aren't national chains. These aren't franchises. These are local people with putting their heart and soul in the business. And they've got an idea, that they believe in that idea, and they're bringing it to fruition. And and you see, I think, how great St. George Street is located. It's a great prime destination in the center of our city. A woman once told me in my business on Main Street, when I was in the retail business there, that we had relocated from Champlain back to Main Street. She said, you know, it's really great to see you back downtown. Downtown's the heart of the city. Like a body, if your heart is healthy, your city's healthy. But if your heart's damaged and not working right, then the whole city's not working right, just like your body. So anyway, she thought that was a vote of confidence, that in downtown.
Well, I think the more businesses that take that chance, and the city supports them by having the proper policing in, and giving the proper infrastructure, making sure the roads are worth driving on, because that used to be a big problem too. It's not quite as a problem that we once had. The potholes are filled.
Yeah, no.
But
we do.
All the levels of government have to work together in order to make the city strong.
Well, they do,
and they seem to be doing that right now.
No, they do. I think we work well hand in hand. It was one of the motivators for me, I think, to transition from one level of government to another level of government, thinking that I could do more for my city as a whole. I'm at the next level, and hopefully we see the fruits of that coming to bear as we move along together.
Just looking across, this building back here, you can see it's all painted up. One of the festivals we have goes around every year, and they put murals on all the buildings. Well, not all the buildings, but let's say a selected 7 or 8 buildings every year get painted up with these beautiful colors by artists that come in from around the world.
Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, this year they've taken a leave of absence. And,
Oh no, that's the first I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah, it won't be happening this year, but it's always been a very, very successful and well-received event. But I mean, we've got a lot of nice murals around the city, and
Yep.
even over at the University of Moncton, a beautiful mural on the side of the building. And so they're great works of art behind the castle on Mountain Road. They're not all downtown, but
No.
Yeah, but
Well,
we
that's
got-
great that they are spread around town. Where the University of Moncton has them on it, or there's several different streets around town.
St. George Street has many
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
Because it's. But yeah, we just went by one here, and there's a few more downtown on the waterfront too. So it dresses up our community, and I know other cities, municipalities across the country have seen what we've done and kind of decided to do the same thing. So how it kind of dresses it up, makes it for an interesting long day.
So were you having a leave of absence from it because there wasn't room for it this year with all the other festivals that were going on, or you just didn't have the artists to come this year? You know?
I heard the organizer doing a media interview, and she basically, I think, looked at that and said, we let's say run the course, but we've done a lot, and I think it's a good time to give it a bit of a break maybe. And,
Okay.
kind of regroup. I mean, it's been tough for festivals during COVID.
Yeah.
It's been very tough, and doesn't matter if it was the Red Fest or what it was. It's just not the same if you can't do it in person. So some of them, like any business, some of them have probably struggled a little more to come back after COVID, and challenging for sure.
Well, I hope we get to the right years and the festival does come back again, because it does bring added color to this downtown, and I think it displays something that a lot of communities don't have.
No, it does. But having said that, we've got a brand new festival in August called Chalk It.
Mm-hmm.
Chalk It. So it's basically street performers that do murals on the street with chalk, and it's going to be centered at the Avenir Center and the Ian Fowler Oval, and on the plaza there, and on Canada Street as well. There'll be chalk going on. So artists again from all over North America, at least. I know a number of them are from the West Coast, who have done this in other cities, are coming to our downtown to do their art.
Well, it'd be nice to have another festival, and hopefully we'll have sunny weather for it, because we don't want the rain that we had through June and the first part of July. So, hopefully the weather will cooperate.
Exactly.
You can see another one of the murals here.
It's on the
off
back
to
of
side.
the Starving Artist Gallery. It's on their back end. They have a picnic table set up in the meeting area, and a lot of the artisans tend to set out there in good weather to take advantage of the traffic on the riverfront.
And what I like too is all the propane tanks on the other side of the building. You can't see them from this angle, but they're all painted up like Lego heads.
Yes,
So I don't know if you'd noticed that already, but
Yeah, there's a couple up on Oak Park like that too.
Yeah.
Painted up. That makes it interesting.
so the direction we're walking now, we're walking towards the town of Dieppe. So,
City.
oh, excuse me, yes, the
Yeah.
city of Dieppe.
Yeah, they've grown immensely as well.
I may have done that on purpose because I wanted to talk to you about amalgamation. That's something that's been talked about for years. I know with Chatham and Newcastle, they amalgamated the two areas and came up with Miramichi City. In Halifax, they've taken Lower Sackville, Bedford, and had the greater Halifax community area.
Dartmouth and Halifax. Dartmouth as well.
Yep. So
was a city. And another
they've
example,
been talking about that, or at least rumbling about that, of Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview, and maybe even some of the little smaller communities that are around, all being amalgamated.
I was going to say, we have one more good example of this too, is in St. John. We had the city of Lancaster, one side, and like the west side of Lancaster and St. John Greater, and then they amalgamated those two together to make a larger city. So,
What are your thoughts now? I'm not from a politician, from a Monctonian's perspective. Do you like the fact that we have two cities and a town that all kind of share the police force and the water treatment, and there's a bunch of different elements that we share as communities,
we do a great job of working together. There's no doubt.
but have three bureaucracies?
There's so much harmony here. It's unbelievable. When I say unbelievable, I know we're the envy of St. John and Fredericton. They wish they had that same level of harmony, I think, in their communities and outlying areas together, But at the same time, there's a cost involved with this. It could be a savings. And you mentioned a couple of areas where we work together, but a couple more of them could be our water supply. Dieppe and Riverview buy it from Moncton, even though it comes from Albert County.
Okay.
But Moncton owns it. Our new police station that we referred to earlier
Yes.
is going to be.
And I'll show you a picture of that after here too.
It'll be owned by the 3 communities. It's situated in Moncton, but logistically it's very close to Dieppe and Riverview and very accessible. So, we share in so much. Our police force is a great example overall. The RCMP, the bus service, our public transportation. So, like I say, we do work in harmony. We're doing a great job of that. And but I can go to the top of the city hall in Moncton, the 6th floor, and look out. I can see the town hall in Riverview, and I can see the city hall in Dieppe. Get 3 of them right together.
That close too.
So you ask yourself. So I think there's probably around 30 members of council in all. So it's quite a bit of a. It would be, I think, more streamlined. If you had the one body overseeing.
If we were one body, would we still be Moncton, or do you propose that we change the name to something new for the betterment of all 3 communities?
I think Moncton is worldwide, known around the world now, and I think obviously the larger name would be the one that would stick. And I look at our international airport that's sitting in the city of Dieppe, but it's the Moncton, or Greater Moncton.
Yes.
Look at the golf course that's situated in Riverview, but it's the Moncton golf course.
Yes.
So no, it's just logistically, and it's like Halifax and Dartmouth. I mean, a lot of things are still known as being in Dartmouth, even though it's all Halifax, but Dartmouth's still the locals are going to call it that. It's much like with amalgamation, municipal reform, Pointe-aux-Chenes, Parley Beach became part of Shediac. They're always going to be Pointe-aux-Chenes or Parley Beach. Yeah. They're not going to change.
And I know there's still people that refer to themselves as living in Chatham or Newcastle, depending on what side of the river they live on, and even if they're in Miramichi now.
And they're very passionate, and they always will be, So why I say I don't think this will happen quickly, but you can see it happening at some point, is because what we talked about earlier in our conversation, the diversification of ethnic origin that we have. So they don't have that same kind of history. They see everybody meshing together. They would. So I think as we get more diversified in our way of thinking, and I can see opportunities to expand that relationship.
Yep. We're coming up on another monument that we have along the riverfront. Actually, 2 monuments if you consider this building behind us, because that is the 2nd oldest building in the city. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
The oldest one being the Free Meeting House next to Resurgo, our museum.
This was actually moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it used to be over across the street there one time.
Yeah.
And the city took over management of it and put it over here.
So it's more an information center now, correct?
Correct.
The inside of it? Yeah.
It is, absolutely. Especially for the tourist season. And so on and so forth.
Steve's banner? Is that Steve's house? It has something to do with the Steves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or Steve's?
Yeah. No, lots of history.
Yeah.
But here's a great spot to view the tidal bore from right here. We're coming upon now.
So the tidal bore, we'll get into it, but you can see we've got bleacher seating here. If you came down, you've got the Joseph Salter Memorial at the top.
It's a group of citizens that decided to do that memorial and put it together, and their names are on the side. We'll put the money into to make that a permanent fixture here, which is really wonderful.
Moncton has gone through several waves. First, we were a shipbuilding town, and this is kind of the area. I'll pan out a bit here so you can see. The tall ships used to come up the river here, and there was docks along the side across from where Dieppe, the connection is. You can even see some of the old wood relics of where they were, but this used to be a shipbuilding city, and then we became a railroad city, and the CN shops had their day here in town, and they've moved away, and then we've become a bit more of a tech city now. A lot of businesses
it's
come
still
in.
Distribution, although it's more highway and by air. There's a rail component to it, but obviously a lot of the rail today is generated from the seaports in Halifax and St. John, perhaps. But to be honest with you, where we are right now is where the railroad used to run. There was a spur line came right along the riverfront here, right exactly where we're standing. There was a rail line.
Okay.
And that's why the bank is so reinforced and so strong. And the rail line serviced the ships. The ships that came in, they docked along that. After the shipbuilding, we were still a lot of commerce being done here. And I'm not a great historian on that, but I just looking at the pictures and things, yeah. Been a lot of and I remember in my lifetime, the oil tankers coming into Dieppe, just the other side of the bridge. Today we're A&W and we're Shoppers Government. We'd be located along the river there. Irving Oil had about 5 big oil tanks. And,
Yes, I remember those.
the boats would come in from St. John, load them up on the high tide, and leave before the tide went down and got out of here. They had a short window of unload and load. So they weren't major tankers, but yeah, that's how the oil was shipped into this area.
Well, you can see a bit here in the banks. You can see the mud, how the water is starting to go out a little bit. When the tide comes in, it is full like we've talked about. And we even have people that surf on it now.
We do. Today won't be a good day because
No.
there's no wind. And it's going to be, but they know the days to come. And they come almost any time of the year. Melvin Pinn, actually, Mexican, who actually drives for Kodiak Transpo, is one of the surfers that's very, very faithful. Doesn't matter what the weather is, he's out there on the waves. So it's pretty phenomenal to see, really. Amazing that they can do that.
I remember in the late 80s, there was a gentleman that had an old map that sailed his boat up here. He came from France, and he was still thinking that this was a mighty river that had tall ships on it, and he got stuck in the mud just down here. Close.
Quite a few months. He
Yeah,
stayed there.
he stayed a long time.
He might have wintered there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was
So things have changed a little bit since then too.
yeah, his navigation wasn't quite up to date, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Before anybody could tell him differently, he was high and dry. But anyway, I think the community rallied around him and helped him to get through the winter.
But this downtown area, this part has changed a lot. This space that's on the other side here, that's kind of a big blank canvas, that's where they're proposing to put the 30-story building. And behind that is the heritage building of Marvin's Biscuit Factory. So we do have a nice complement of older buildings that are still remaining and new structures that are going up.
Yeah, you've heard this criticism over the years. We have too many parking lots. We have too many empty lots that just aren't being productive. And when I say being productive, it could help the economy. It could help our residential dilemma. And overall, we don't need a whole lot of paved parking lots, especially in the downtown core.
No.
But parking garages and underground parking, and kind of blending the parking in with the new buildings that are being built, which is what's being done. Every building that's built now has a parking component, so it's working out for sure.
They're going to turn us around from here because Greg does have a time commitment. He has graciously let me walk with him today and talk about the city. And there's a lot of exciting things to go on. There's still a lot more exciting things we haven't even touched on that maybe we will at a later date. We briefly talked about the Avenir Center and its growth and what it's done for this city, because it's been huge.
The Avenir Center, I know there was a lot of controversy. I was serving on city council during the construction of that. A lot of controversy, but it's people who didn't understand that it's not a hockey rink. It's not just a concert venue, it's an economic generator for our community and for our city. And the thing about it, if you look at the Coliseum, which, as you know, I've been a big part of, and it's been there almost 50 years now, but there hasn't been one bit of development around it. Not a gas station, not a hotel, not a restaurant, no economic activity.
But it's recent, because Millennium has 10 big apartment buildings going up on it right now.
It does, yeah. I don't think it's because of the Coliseum. But
no, I don't think it's a direct impact of that, no.
But they are strategically located between Centennial Park and the, and the multiplex in the...
the sports fields, the dome.
Yeah, so it's great green belt area.
Yep.
And it's on a former railway line, by the way, where it sits. That's a railway line as well.
Yep.
But anyway, so no, there's so much opportunity with the Avenir Center that we just never had with the Coliseum. Although it's done a great job of, and it will continue as a trade show, and it's transitioning more into sports as well. When there aren't trade shows there, it's pickleball, racquetball, volleyball, whatever it may be going on.
Lots of tournaments going on in there.
Yeah, so it's busy all the time. But here we are, part of our agreement to get financing from the province of New Brunswick at that time, so that within 5 years we would see an equal amount of development around the Avenir Center, generated by the Avenir Center, is what the Avenir Center costs to build, which is around 108 million in that area. So the province was willing to help out, to a level that we needed, but they had a restriction on that. But it turns out we got that level of commitment, or buildings initiated, within 3 years. Didn't take 5, within 3. And we both know, as we talked this morning, there's a lot more on the drawing board, a lot more to come. So we're in good shape. You know, it's done its job. It's really transformed the city, and that's really what it was. We're sitting there. You know, back in history, as you know, the CNR station was huge, a grandiose building with gardens, and it was the heartbeat of the city. And that evolved in Highfield Square, which again was the heartbeat of the city in its time. And now the Avenir Center, sort of the third coming of that piece of property. So it's good. It's you know, strategically located, and it's doing what we need it to do.
And it's a world-class facility, so it is drawing events and performers in from all around the world that maybe wouldn't have chose Moncton otherwise.
Where we put a lot of our efforts into building that building were in the acoustics. The acoustics were what's important in that building. From forever, on the Coliseum, it was essentially a tin can. Great building, but no thought into acoustics. And so bands and performers would come in, but everything just vibrated, reverberated, you know. And
that sloping ceiling, even though you had those deadening mats that came down off it, didn't quite do the trick.
It was never designed in the first place. That was like an afterthought. So this building the other way around. The thought went into the planning and the design for acoustics. Almost every performance you'll see, without exception, at some point the entertainer will say, they'll stop what they're doing and say, "This is an amazing building. This is a phenomenal building." I remember James Taylor doing that. And here's a guy that's been going, you know, touring for 50 years, and he's seen all the buildings everywhere, right?
Yep.
And he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. So that makes me proud. We come to Moncton and talk about the quality of our building. They tell other people. Where good news spreads.
And then what we add to that is the quality of people that attend. You have great people that turn out for these events. You have respectful people that turn out for these events. You're not seeing fights and things happening at the events like you sometimes see in other cities.
No,
I think we're very respectful people. So you got to come to Moncton. I mean, that's what this video all boils down to. It's one big promotion for this city. Greg and I are both going to promote this city till the end of time, and that's what we're doing today. And I want to thank Greg for coming out. I appreciate it. It means a lot that you do the things you do for this city, and we see great events and other bicyclists coming by enjoying the pathway.
Yeah, no, thank you, Robert. I've enjoyed the chat, obviously, and always enjoy anything to do with Moncton. And you know, everything takes time, but there's a vision, and there's people who want to see the vision happen, and that's what we're seeing in front of us today.
All right,
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks. Have a magical week.
What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?